Welcome to Improve Your English Writing video number 6, where I'll be discussing the colon. And specifically, I'll be talking about an independent clause followed by an explanation series or positive, which is rule number 22, and capitalization after a colon, which is rule number 23. If you'd like to get notifications for the series, please click subscribe. If you like the video or think others will find it useful, please click like. And check out links to videos and books in the description, like a link to the companion reference pictured there. So rule number 22. So use a colon to separate an independent clause from a following series, appositive, or explanation. In this bullet, I was going to make it red, but I've been reserving red for the punctuation marks, but this cannot be understated. An independent clause always precedes a colon. So you always have to have an independent clause before a colon. And a word, phrase, series, or sentence may follow a colon in the form of, so notice I'm just going to say, you notice how an independent clause comes before the colon, but then a word, phrase, or series, or sentence may follow the colon in the form of, you guessed it, a series, a positive, or an explanatory independent clause. And just a note, since we are talking about the colon, but in the case where you have an explanatory independent clause, so remember you always have an independent clause, or in this case you had an independent clause and then another independent clause. In this case you can separate the colon, but just to point out where you have these two independent clauses, you may also separate it by a period or semicolon depending on the case. Always a period. And in the previous videos on the semicolon, we discussed when the independent clauses are closely related, you may use a semicolon. But let's not get bogged down. We are talking about the colon, and you may separate it when you have an explanatory independent clause. So, and just to note, see Rule 30, which is on video 38, for when a colon, for a colon before a question within a sentence, and see Rule 33, video number 40, for colon before a direct quotation. So I know it seems like I only have 2 rules on the colon, but actually 2 other rules about the colon are covered somewhere else. So here, this series is focusing on direct quotations, and this series is focusing on questions within a sentence. So if you have that situation going on, go check out those videos and rules. So let's look at some examples of what I've been talking about. So let's see when you have a, independent clause, colon, series. Remember, an independent clause always becomes before the colon. So here you have, so then the blue is the independent clause. So you have, I shipped a box full of books on different topics, colon, math, science, and history. So here you have the independent clause. Here you have a series. So you may separate them with a colon. So there you have series following an independent clause. So now let's look at the case of the appositive. Remember, a positive is just something that comes after and renames what come before. So we better have an independent clause and then an appositive, which just renames the independent clause. And you can separate those two with a colon. So let's look at an example. Is junk food has 2 huge disadvantages. That is an independent clause, colon, fat and calories. So here, I just want to make sure, point out this is a positive. This appositive, fat and calories, are naming the 2 huge disadvantages. So this is an appositive to this independent clause. But remember, we use a colon when we have an independent clause and then we have a following appositive. So in this case we do, so we put a colon between them. Last but not least, an explanatory clause. So once again, we're going to have an independent clause, colon, explanatory clause. So that's what you have. The local laws are different. Colon, you are guilty unless proven innocent. So here we have an independent clause. Actually, in here we have another independent clause. But this independent clause explains the first one. so we may separate them with a colon. So independent clause, colon, explanatory clause. And remember the last slide is that since what follows is an explanatory clause or is an independent clause, we have the choice of a colon, which is this case, or we could use a period, or if we think they're closely related, go to that video, you may use a semicolon. Your choice of how you would like to punctuate this. So actually any one of these three is okay. So let's move on to rule number 22 or 23, sorry. Rule number 23 is capitalize the first word after a colon when 1. The word is a proper noun. 2. Two or more related sentences follow, or 3. One or more sentences follow that require special emphasis. So I have a few comments on this rule. First one being the AP, so the Associated Press Style Guide, and the APA capitalize the first word following a colon if 1 or more sentences follow, not 2. So that means the Chicago Manual of Style, the Greg's Reference Manual, the MLA all say you need to have two related sentences follow, but the AP and the associated or APA, the AP and the APA say you only need 1. So there is a difference there. So I point that out because if you're following the AP, then you just substitute right here. Instead of 2, you just substitute the word 1. And same with the APA. You just substitute the word 1 instead of 2 right here. And per the Popular Style Guide, special emphasis includes a statement of a rule or principle. Basically, you're trying to draw emphasis to it, and that generally occurs when you're discussing a rule or a principle. So let's look at some examples. A proper noun. We all know a proper noun is always capitalized, so this rule is a little redundant. So you would capitalize a proper noun anyway, so you almost don't need number 1, but just for clarity, I put it in there. So proper noun, here's one. I have 2 observations about this witness, colon, Brandon's previous perjury and criminal record will hurt the case. So Brandon is a proper noun. We'd capitalize it anyways, but anytime you have a proper noun, you would capitalize it after a colon. Next time you capitalize is when you have 2 or more sentences that follow. Related sentences is, and here's an example of that. The local laws are different. Colon, first, you are guilty unless proven innocent. Second, the sheriff is always right. So here you have 2 related sentences that follow. So you capitalize after the colon. Now, just to make myself clear again, which I just covered, if you had the AP or APA, you would capitalize when 1 or more related sentences follow, not 2, just to make it clear. And last but not least, special emphasis. There is a fundamental here is a fundamental punctuation rule. Colon, non-essential elements are always separated with punctuation. So here, since remember, according to the style guides, when you have a rule or principle that requires special emphasis, or special emphasis usually is when you have, you're talking about a rule or a fundamental principle, you would use capitalization. So there you have it. There is an example of that. So that's it for this video. If you want to get notifications for the series, please click subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like, and check out links to books and videos in the description. Thank you.